Tonight, America is mourning. We didn't just lose a star, we lost a legend, a piece of history.
John Paul Hammond lived a life shaped by music, but never controlled by it. Born into a family already connected to greatness, he could have followed an easy road. Instead, he chose the harder path, one built on dusty highways, small clubs, and the raw, honest sound of the blues. He was born in 1942 in New York City, the son of the legendary producer John Henry Hammond. His father was known for discovering and supporting giants like Bob Dylan and Aretha Franklin. Music legends often passed through his childhood home. But rather than stepping into fame through family connections, John Paul Hammond felt drawn to something deeper, the roots of American blues. As a young man, he immersed himself in the recordings of early blues masters. He listened closely to the haunting slide guitar of Robert Johnson and the powerful voice of Muddy Waters. Their music spoke of struggle, longing, and truth. It was simple, but it carried weight. Hammond did not want polish or glamour. He wanted authenticity. In the 1960s, he began performing in small clubs in Greenwich Village, where folk and blues music were finding new life. Audiences quickly noticed his deep, gravelly voice and strong guitar playing. He played with intensity but never with ego. Each note felt lived in, each lyric carried emotion. Though he came from privilege, Hammond often performed as if he had something to prove, not to critics, but to the music itself. He wanted to honor the blues tradition without copying it. His albums throughout the decades reflected that commitment. He recorded acoustic blues, electric blues, and even explored roots rock, always staying close to the heart of the genre. Over the years, he shared stages with many respected artists and earned admiration from fellow musicians. Yet he never chased mainstream fame. While others moved toward commercial trends, Hammond stayed grounded. He believed the blues did not need to be reinvented, it needed to be respected. His live performances became the center of his career. On stage, alone with a guitar and harmonica, he could hold a room in silence. There was something steady about him. He did not rush songs. He allowed them to breathe. Audiences often described his shows as intimate, even spiritual. As decades passed, musical styles changed. Rock grew louder. Pop became more polished. But Hammond remained faithful to the roots. In doing so, he became a bridge between generations. Younger listeners discovered the old blues masters through him. Older fans found comfort in his dedication to tradition. His career earned him critical praise and a loyal following. Yet beyond awards and reviews, his true achievement was preservation. At a time when much of popular music moved toward digital perfection, Hammond reminded listeners of the power of raw human sound, fingers on strings, breath in harmonica reeds, a voice telling stories of hardship and hope. In 2026, news of his passing marked the end of a remarkable journey. For many in the blues community, it felt like losing a guardian of the genre. He had carried its history with care. He had honored its pioneers without turning them into relics. And he had shown that authenticity still had a place in modern music. John Paul Hammond's life was not about spectacle. It was about commitment. Commitment to craft. Commitment to history. Commitment to truth and sound. Though he was the son of a legendary producer, he built his own legacy, one shaped not by connections, but by devotion. His guitar may now be silent, but the echoes of his voice remain. In every blues riff played in a small club, in every young musician discovering the roots of American music, his influence can still be felt. The chapter closes, but the music does not. Ali Hosseini Khamenei was a man whose life became closely tied to the destiny of the Islamic Republic of Iran. For more than 3 decades, he served as the nation's second supreme leader, holding the highest authority in the country. His leadership spanned times of war, heavy sanctions, internal unrest, and major shifts in global politics. In 2026, his assassination brought a sudden and dramatic end to one of the most powerful eras in modern Middle Eastern history. Born in 1939 in the holy city of Mashhad, Khamenei grew up in a religious family. His father was a respected cleric, and from an early age, he was immersed in Islamic scholarship. As a young man, he studied in religious seminaries and became involved in political activism. During the rule of Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, Khamenei opposed the monarchy and supported revolutionary ideas. His activism led to several arrests and periods of imprisonment. These experiences shaped his worldview and strengthened his commitment to the Islamic Revolution. When the 1979 revolution, led by Ruhollah Khomeini, succeeded in overthrowing the Shah, Khamenei quickly rose in influence. He was seen as loyal, disciplined, and deeply committed to the new Islamic system. In 1981, during a time of political violence and instability, he survived an assassination attempt that left his right arm permanently injured. That moment became part of his legacy, a symbol of sacrifice and survival. Later that same year, he became the president of Iran. His presidency coincided with the brutal years of the Iran-Iraq War. The conflict drained the country's resources and tested the new government's strength. Khamenei often appeared in public speeches, calling for unity and resistance. His calm but firm tone became familiar to the Iranian people. In 1989, after the death of Ayatollah Khomeini, Khamenei was chosen as the new supreme leader. It was a turning point not only for him but for the entire nation. As supreme leader, he held authority over the military, the judiciary, state media, and major policy decisions. Over time, his influence shaped Iran's political structure and its approach to the world. Under his leadership, Iran faced heavy economic sanctions from Western nations. Tensions with the United States and regional rivals remained high. Yet Khamenei maintained a strong stance, emphasizing independence and resistance to foreign pressure. Supporters viewed him as a guardian of national sovereignty. Critics, however, argued that his policies limited political freedoms and deepened isolation. Domestically, Iran experienced waves of protest during his rule. From student movements to economic demonstrations, public unrest tested the government's stability. Khamenei often responded with a message of order and continuity, insisting that the Islamic Republic must remain firm against what he described as outside influence. Despite political divisions, there was no doubt about the scale of his impact. For over 30 years, nearly every major decision in Iran passed through his office. His speeches were closely followed, not only inside the country but across the region. Allies and rivals alike watched his words carefully. In 2026, news of his assassination shocked the nation and the wider world. Details emerged slowly, and uncertainty filled the air. For many Iranians, it felt like the closing of a chapter that had lasted most of their lives. State media described him as a steadfast leader who defended the revolution. Around the region, leaders reacted with caution, aware that his death could reshape political balances. Ali Hosseini Khamenei's legacy remains complex and deeply debated. To supporters, he was a steady hand during decades of pressure and conflict. To critics, he represented rigid control and limited reform. But beyond the debate, one fact is clear: his leadership defined an era. From a young cleric in Mashhad to the highest authority in Iran, his journey reflected the dramatic changes of his country. His life was tied to revolution, survival, power, and endurance. With his passing, Iran stands at another crossroads, facing questions about continuity and change. History will continue to examine his choices and their consequences. Yet for more than 3 decades, Ali Hosseini Khamenei stood at the center of Iran's political life. His story is inseparable from the story of the nation he led, a nation still shaped by the path he helped create. Bobby J. Brown built his career not on fame, but on feeling. He was never the loudest presence on screen. He did not chase headlines. Instead, he brought quiet intensity to every role, creating characters that felt real, fragile, and human. When news broke in 2026 that he had died at the age of 62 in a tragic barn fire in Chaptiko, the shock rippled through fans and colleagues alike. Brown was best known for his work on the acclaimed television drama The Wire. The series, set in Baltimore, explored the layered realities of crime, politics, and everyday survival. It demanded honesty from its cast. Brown delivered exactly that. His performance was not flashy. It was steady and grounded. He played his characters as men caught between forces, between loyalty and survival, hope and compromise. Born in the early 1960s, Brown grew up during a time when American television was changing. Stories were becoming more complex. Characters were no longer simply heroes or villains. Brown understood this shift. From early in his career, he leaned into roles that carried emotional weight. He preferred scripts that showed flaws, contradictions, and quiet struggles. Before his time on The Wire, Brown worked steadily in theater and television. Directors appreciated his discipline. Fellow actors respected his calm presence. He listened closely during scenes, reacting in ways that felt natural. It was this ability to exist fully within a moment that made his performances powerful. On The Wire, he became part of a cast that many critics would later describe as one of the greatest ensembles in television history. The show did not rely on simple storytelling. It demanded patience from viewers and truth from its actors. Brown thrived in that environment. He portrayed characters who lived between worlds, men navigating the thin line between right and wrong, law and survival. Colleagues often described him as thoughtful and private. He did not seek celebrity status. He valued the craft itself. Between projects, he remained connected to his community, occasionally mentoring younger performers who were trying to find their way in a difficult industry. Off-screen, Brown lived a quieter life in rural Maryland. Friends said he appreciated the stillness there. It offered balance to the emotional intensity of his work. That peaceful setting made the tragedy of his passing even more heartbreaking. In 2026, a barn fire at his property in Chaptico claimed his life. Authorities later confirmed the accident, but the suddenness left many in disbelief. Tributes began pouring in from across the television industry. Former cast members from The Wire shared memories of long nights on set, of conversations between scenes, of laughter that lightened heavy storylines. Fans remembered how his character stayed with them long after episodes ended. Though he may not have been the headline star, his presence added depth to every scene. Bobby J. Brown represented a certain kind of actor, one devoted to truth over attention. In a world often drawn to spectacle, he chose substance. He understood that the strongest performances are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes, they are found in silence, in a glance, in a pause before a line is spoken. His career reminds audiences that storytelling is a shared effort. Every role, large or small, shapes the emotional landscape of a series. Brown's contributions helped make The Wire more than just a show. He helped make it feel real. At 62, he still had more to give. More roles to explore. More characters waiting to be brought to life. His passing feels like an unfinished sentence. Yet his work remains. Episodes continue to stream. New viewers continue to discover The Wire. And with each viewing, Bobby J. Brown's performances continue to breathe. He lived between worlds, between light and shadow, fame and humility, strength and vulnerability. In doing so, he left behind something lasting. Not noise, but truth.